When you discovered the law of attraction, you started to believe anything was possible. Life got better, much better. Now you want more, but it's not working. That's where the Manifest It Now show comes in. If you've been waiting for someone who can teach you the practical application to manifest quicker and easier while having more, turn the volume up, because the dynamic duo, Cassie Parks and Ginny Gain, are ready to teach you how to live the law of attraction like they do. It's time to laugh and learn.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Manifest It Now. I'm here with Cassie Parks.
And I'm here with Ginny Gain.
And we're wondering, you making this manifesting mistake? I sometimes like to pause for dramatic effect at the intro.
I noticed that. I love it. And I had this flash of, just going back to the beginning, like how you're like, I don't know if I could I don't know what we would say. And now you're like professionally, dramatically pausing. And I just love it. It's so fun.
Yeah, I'm happy you like it. I feel like people who are just starting to listen to us get this feel like, what is this? And then the people who have listened to us for years are like, oh yeah, that's Ginny and Cassie.
Right?
It wears on you guys for any new listeners out there, hopefully. What are you excited about, Cass?
Gosh. I was thinking about that as you were doing the dramatic intro. I'm just excited about everything, like how things are flowing, how things feel, this new level of growth that I feel. And I did one of my own, I always do my own assignments now that I have assignments. And I did it yesterday and it was so great. And I just get excited. I get excited about that because, first of all, it just felt good. I was like, oh man, this opened up, and just I had the feeling. And because it works. What you and I continue to prove is that you continue to do the same things and it gets deeper and it keeps working. And I love that because I'm on a mission. It's why I've shifted to really promoting 5 years of working with me, because I want to show what is possible when you keep doing the work, and it doesn't have to change. It changes as you change, the work changes on its own. And it's the same types of things. It's similar, and just doing it and being consistent and choosing every day to be your future self opens up this world, and you don't have to go chasing all of these things to fix yourself. And so I'm just get more and more excited every time I feel myself go deeper and grow, which is all the time, but sometimes it's more than others, because I'm getting to prove exactly what I know is true.
Oh, that's awesome. And that is so powerful because you're being the example. Like, in the proving what you know is true, is it just another way of saying I'm being the example for what I believe?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. That's cool. It kind of ties in. We were talking last week in our tribe about how, so we're going to be starting another skills camp session in the beginning of the year in January. And I was saying to the women in the tribe who've already all been through that, and I was like, we could, there's an option that you could join in this. And they were all like, yes, oh my God, that's amazing, because we're so different and we're going to come at the same information and practice from a different place, so it's going to be a whole new experience. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly what it's about.
Oh, it's so true, and I love it.
Yeah. I was getting excited too about the same kind of thing. Cass and I were chatting before we recorded about how I was like, well, I had this idea, and to help myself, I asked myself, what would I tell someone else to do? And then I'm going to go do that. And it's so cool. So that is following that inspiration, and that's what I'm excited about. It's just feeling so inspired about this idea. I'm working with a group of entrepreneurs now, which I never have before. It's been kind of seeding itself in, and I'm sure if you listen to the podcast for years, you've probably picked up a few things. And so it feels so exciting to be inspired. And when you're inspired like that, it doesn't matter what's going on in life. And I think this is one of the things Cass and I talk about a lot, is it is not about outside, it is about inside. And when you're in that place of inspiration, or it could be joy, or it could be appreciation, or creativity, or any of those, everything in life looks different. Everything in life feels different because you're different. And that's the essence of what we talk about and what we teach.
Oh, I love it. So fun.
All right. So what is this mysterious manifesting mistake that we're going to talk about today?
It is thinking that you're focusing on what you want when you're actually focusing on what you don't want.
Bam. I mean, everybody's going to be raising their hand here, right? It's just like a part of the path, but we're going to highlight, because, well, we're going to highlight a few different areas and how this shows up to hopefully guide you to catch this within yourself, so then you can switch that focus on to even more and more and more of what you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because sometimes, like, this is why we always start with awareness. You can't even catch it if you don't even know you're doing it. Right?
Right. Because even, this comes up in communication a lot, where you know what you're trying to say, and yet you don't, yet that's not what comes out. And, people train on this, and people become more aware. Like, I'm not using, what I think, I'm not saying what I think I'm saying, right? And so we become aware outside, but this happens with our communication with the universe too, is we think in our head, this is what I want, but the actual words that are coming out of our mouth, or the words that we're typing, or the words that we're texting, or the words that we're thinking, are in direct opposition to that. And that's the information we're giving the universe, because the universe isn't, when we talk about communication with humans, there's like verbal cues, and people talk about how communication is a certain percentage, just like body language, right? But the universe isn't a human. It's just a reflection of you. And so there's no interpretation. There's no, so like I was saying, the universe doesn't pick up any cues. It's not picking up on your body language. It's not picking up on if there's sarcasm. It's not picking up if you are saying something that you're putting that energy into what you don't want, but in your head you're like, I really want this. Yeah.
That's a good one. Sarcasm is a great one. Right?
Yes.
That's one of those examples of we're being sarcastic because likely there's a part of us that isn't owning it, or that's saying, that might not be true. And so I remember kind of having my own little inner battle with sarcasm, because I'm like, but it's funny. Like, people laugh at this. And I've had clients say to me, but people laugh that I joke that I'm always single, or people laugh that, like, of course there's no money in the bank, or my silly husband did this. And I'm like, guys, no, you can't joke about that. This is serious.
Right? Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, it's funny because you're thinking, okay, well, this is funny. It's creating like humor, but think about where you're coming from when you say that.
Yes. Well, even where you're coming from, but also if you look at the universe, which a lot of people, like a lot of scientists will teach, it just takes in data. So if the data is saying, I'm single, I'm single, I'm single, I'm single, and that's the data you're putting in, like, that's the output you're going to get back.
Yep.
And
totally.
Because again, there's no, she's trying to be funny. Like, there's no algorithm for that in the universe. Like, she's trying to be funny. She has this tone. Like, don't count this data. Right?
Yeah. And not only are you're telling the universe, you're also telling your brain which thoughts to go to. So that's why, like, when you've been practicing, and probably the same for you, but a lot of people come to me and they're just waking up to, like, understand, hey, I've been conditioned and I want to start to choose how I'm thinking my thoughts and programming my own mind so that I get different results. And so that is one of those things, like, you're also, the data you're giving your own brain and creating those neural pathways in your body and mind, and that makes it easier to go to. So that when you do have a date and it doesn't work out, all of a sudden your mind is just dropping into, because you're single. Yeah, because you're, it's easier to go to that.
Right. And if we want to get real, even deeper on this, you're filtering for that to have bad dates. Like your filter from the beginning is choosing what's going to make that story true.
Yes.
In the whole process, from the time you swipe left or right to the time you get ready to the time you go to the conversation that you have, if that's the story that you're telling, like all of the information your brain is going to filter through that gets like to be counted and to be seen and to get into all, you know, to sort of sink in a way, is going to be to support that story.
I feel like anyone who's listening and is single is like, oh my God, what the heck am I going to do? That seems like a lot to
It does. And we will talk about this, and especially when it comes to dating, it's putting yourself in the position where you have the relationship that you want. Mm-hmm. It's scripting that, it's visualizing that. It's when you are clear about that, then you're focused on that. And then your brain is filtering that stuff because that's the story you're telling. Yeah. So while it seems overwhelming when we talk about all the parts and like, oh my gosh, I'm doing that, you can do it all a different way, focused on what you want, and it'll be the same.
Yeah. I want to just pipe something in here too, is like that story that you're telling. So you have to clarify that's the new story, and then you're building that, like you're practicing that. And what I see happen a lot is people look at life to try to tell the story, but the story, the new story isn't in you yet. It doesn't have any footing. And so if you tell it for a week and then you look at your life and say, you know, it's not there yet, or I'm not seeing it yet. I guess it kind of goes back to that, you know, taking score too soon, but just take it. You got to build that story within you, 100% within you first, within you vibrationally. So you feel that first before you try to look outside for evidence of that. Like what we're talking about, like teaching your brain that story so that you can find evidence of it, so that your brain's then looking for evidence of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like to describe that as sort of you know, like the, oh man, it's escaping me. The captain of the cruise ship, you know, needs to turn a cruise ship around. That takes a while. So the view, right, as you turn, it takes a while to get that, which is what you're doing when you're telling a different story. You're totally making that shift. And it takes a little bit to see, you know, because if you're going one direction and you're going another direction, when you're on a cruise ship that takes a while to turn around, it takes a while to see that other direction that you're going. Yeah. And so you do have to give it time and let that story sink in and build it so that it can be reflected back to you.
Yeah. Trust.
Because you put a lot of data in before. Yeah. Trust your story.
So I feel like we went on a little bit of a tangent.
I know, but I'm like, oh, but this is so good. So do you want me to bring it back with like the most basic example I use? Yeah. When it comes to money, this is the beginning of every story. So anyone who's ever said, you know, I want to manifest getting out of debt. Like the first place we're going to go is, do you want more debt? Because even though it's, well, I don't want to be in debt. Yes, you don't want to be in debt. But what do you really want? Do you want to feel relief? Do you want money to spend on fun things? Because it's not being out of debt that you actually want. It's what comes from that. And when the focus is being on debt, what happens, this is the same, a lot of times, I don't know why this has been popping up, but I have a mentor in the past, and she had gained and lost 100 pounds like 6 times. Because she was always the person who was losing weight.
Not losing weight, yeah.
Yeah. And so, of course, when she lost it, she had to gain it all back because she'd been so practicing. So she could lose it.
Yeah, because her identity was like, I'm really good at losing weight.
Yeah.
Now, that would seem like a positive story, right?
Right.
This is what we mean by, like, sometimes you think you're putting energy onto what you want, but that you're not.
Right. Because you're like, but that is what I want. But if we dig deeper both into the debt, so this happens with debt too.
That's the how. You're wanting the how when what you really want is beyond the how.
And when you focus on paying off, you become the person who's paying off debt. And so you might have known somebody where it's like, oh, we got that last payment, and then something hits them that they didn't see coming, and all of a sudden they're back in debt because that's what they've been practicing.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that is where you think you're manifesting what you want, but you're not.
Yeah. And I think like I want to give examples too of like when things are going on in the world, or when something is going on in your job or your company or the place where you go to work every day. Because oftentimes we're wanting to create like we want a better experience. You know, there's a lot of stress at work. I'm hearing a lot of this.
Right.
And so we think, okay, well, I have to be a part. I have to like engage in this board or this administration or this conversation or this group because I have to tell people what's going wrong or what we need or how this is going to get better and that kind of thing. And there's a effective way to do this. There's like a productive way to do that. And then there's a not productive way to do that. So, and you really have to pay attention to where you're coming from when you're putting that energy in. Like, are you giving energy to the problem, which is what you want, which is more stress? Or have you like relaxed into have you tuned into that a solution exists? Mm-hmm. Do you trust that there can be the environment I'm just going to keep going with work, the environment you want at work? Like, have you even asked yourself, like, what is it like? And how would I act in that place? Or are you just saying like, yeah, that's bad. And yeah, that's bad. And we don't want any more of that. And that should change. Because that is really like, I guess that's if I was to simplify it in general way, we're focused on what needs to change way more. And that's not serving us. That's what we're talking about, like, is in terms of this manifesting mistake.
Yeah, because the thing can change, right? Something can change, but if you haven't identified the energy that you want instead in the experience, and when I say energy, I mean like experience of joy or peace or happiness, whatever that is still there. You've been practicing being that. You've been practicing pushing against that. And so the thing can change and another thing pops up.
Yeah. And I mean that it's important. There is a part of this process of manifesting what you want that is seeing what's going wrong, right? But you see it and then move forward. Like, see it and then get on to the solution. Don't see it. Right? And yes, it's a part of the step, but way more of the energy, your energy and focus needs to go on what you want and the solution and what's possible here. And so when we come back to like the stories idea in this example, see what's going wrong, then you write the story you want it to be, how's it going to be, and then practice the heck out of that story, because every day when you go into work, you're still going to see the quote unquote problem, but you have to like let that be fine as your news story is building momentum and gaining strength and solidifying itself in you.
Yes. And that happens. Do we want to talk about how you do that?
Yes, sure.
So it happens by first recognizing when you engage in that energy that you don't want and any part of the story that you don't want. Right. And it's awesome. It can be really hard, but I have to tell, like, this has to be fixed. Nothing will change if I don't say anything. Like, that is the thoughts and things.
That is a big one. Nothing's going to change if I don't do something. You guys, what about your vibration? Your vibration is going to change everything. How you feel changes everything. That is what you're doing when you're writing a news story.
Yes. And so you have to become aware, and you have to break the habit of engaging with that and getting riled up by it and talking about it and getting pissed off about it and having that feeling and having, if we're talking about work, having that meeting after the meeting about it, right? And then the after meeting where you still are complaining about it.
I'm like giggling because one of the women in Skills Camp is going through this exactly. And she was sharing exactly. She's like, I realized like people come to me and they want to talk bad about my team. And she's like, my team is so frustrating to me. And then she's like, and then I realized I was talking bad about my team. So part of this process, she was like bringing that awareness to like, I can see how someone comes to me and they're fishing for me to complain.
Right.
And I'm like, yep, exactly. And I'm like, you have to be so aware and just like Cass said, not engage in that. And it's really simple, guys. You just say, I don't want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. You know, it doesn't have to be personal. Nothing has to be like, it is, just keep it super simple. Like really own where you're giving your energy. And I don't want to talk about my team like that. Mm-hmm. And then the next biggest shift that happened was she's like, I actually didn't want to. It felt bad to. And because she'd been practicing mm-hmm. the other side of it, the news story. And I think that is so powerful, like especially in a corporate environment, and anyone who's listening to this show, like you are going to be leaders in this area, and to be able to have that conviction to say, I'm not going to be the one to add to that drama or talk about people in that way or talk about what's going wrong with the company from that perspective. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be I know how this works. I understand the power of my attention and my energy. And yes, even if there is crap going on, I'm not going to add to it. I'm going to be the one leading the conversation about how could we move through this? What could we... Oh, my favorite part of these conversations is like just sharing how you feel about it and what you would love to see.
Yes. Or asking the question, right? So listening you talk about the team, like when she's like, oh, I'm not going to talk about that. You can always ask, well, like, what do you think so-and-so did well? What do you think we did really good last month or last week? Or what idea did you like? So we can get more of that.
Yes. I love bringing that, like the culture of celebration and appreciation into workplace. This is just something I do. I didn't really, and I haven't had a lot of experience in corporate, but I've had clients and Lisa works in corporate. And so I've been getting exposed to how powerful this can be mm-hmm. in a team environment. Like, I wish I could just, and I'm sure people have done studies, you can draw a direct line from appreciation to increased profit. Like, I guarantee it.
Yeah. Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. All right. Yeah.
So what are some other ways or areas that we can talk about in terms of like when people are, they think they're focusing on what they want, but it's actually the opposite?
I think it comes in, in different circumstances where we see things in the world that we don't want. Mm-hmm. It happens on social media all the time. And, people think that they need to share what they don't want to get more of to fix it, or they need to really talk about that, or they need to respond. And that is putting energy in that thing that you don't want. All of those actions are putting more energy into that.
Yeah. And remember, there's like, I know we just had, or in the States, there was a big election, and I want you to think of, it's not just a piece of paper that you're casting your vote. You are casting your vote vibrationally by who or which side or which parties or which things, ideas, subjects, topics you're giving your energy mm-hmm. to. So let's say you believe in, you want to support in the environment, and that's a part of what's important to you. And by you sharing stats on Facebook or with friends or talking about how awful the environment is you casting your vote for the other side, right? Like, the way you support and you cast your vote for environmental improvement is by feeling good about the environment in any way possible. And And I think that's one of the biggest. I worked with this with a woman a few months ago because the environment was really important to her. And she's like, yeah, but I'm showing everyone what's, all these things that are going wrong. And I'm showing them like, we need to change. Look at all these things going wrong. And I'm like, you have to, I'm so mad about it. And I see garbage on the road and I'm frustrated. And I'm like, it's all how you feel about it. That is what you're going to, like, how you're adding to it.
Yeah. How you feel. And this is the point where you get to consciously choose what you're going to contribute. Where are you going to put the extra energy of what you want instead of what you don't want? Right? So, are you sharing, if in this instance, like, are you sharing something about pollution, or are you sharing something about somebody who's reducing it and doing it differently and doing what you want?
Yes. Yeah, that's a great example. And the other kind of thing I just want to touch on is how this pressure or this belief or something that we feel we have to be in the know. Like, I have to watch the news, or I have to educate myself on these topics or things going on in the world. And when I do that it's stressful. And so it's like, taking me out of alignment. And I think it's really important that if that's important to you, if being in the know is important to you, you find a way to feel good about it in a very general sense. So, I mean, Cass is really good at this. I remember when things were going on with the pandemic, and I'm like, I can't even like look at that stuff. It just takes me out. And then I remember talking to you, and you had done this different research, and you just shared these facts, and I'm like, oh, that's perfect. That feels great. Like, hearing it in that way, but you'd found the way to do that in a way that feels good to you.
And so one of the ways, it's interesting that I just remembered this, or I don't know, realized it as we were talking. One of the ways really is, instead of having this, I have to be in the know, because again, it's a how, is going out there and doing all this. I really do it from an intuitive place of, this showed up. I do want to look at this article on my phone, or intuitive, I want to do a little research on this particular thing, and here's the thing I want to know about, versus consuming it all and trying to navigate all of that.
Yes. And I think another little example of that is, like, instead of just automatically turning on the news at 6 or whatever, or automatically clicking on your first article that scrolls across your screen or pops in your email, you're checking in with you. Oh, do I want to follow this one? Does this one feel like it's going to be good for me? And use your intuition and your internal guidance system as to guiding the how.
Yes. Because if you think about what you really want, and might be different, this is likely different for everybody, but when you say, I want to be in the know, you have to get clear about what that means for you. Why do you want to be in the know? And what does that mean to you? Does that mean you want to know every single little thing? Or does that mean you want to know what you want to pay attention to, or where opportunities are to put good energy? Like, why do you want to know that? And getting clear about that will help you guide your intuition.
Yes. Clarity is number one. What do I really want? What does that mean to me? And then the steps can come in. Yeah,
because this goes for everything, right? Even I think people wouldn't think it goes for the news or staying in the know, but it does. It's, why do I want that? And getting clear, letting your intuition guide. And when you do come across something, really focusing on the facts and not the emotion. So you can get to where you can...
Not the opinions.
Yeah, you can get to where you flesh out the facts, or where you're like, is this a fact? And you can go do it. And the thing that I think gets in most people's way is that they don't feel enough when they're going through the news. Yes. So if you come across something that you don't like the way it feels, or you have an emotional reaction to that is an opportunity for you to feel your feelings. And if you would do that, because there's this emotional of energy, right? And you can either feel through that, and it can be released through your body and sort of go out and become a new energy, And or it can become this fuel of a fire that you think you need to put energy in somewhere else. And so it can come out in this other angry way. And so angry or however, or trying to help or do this. But when you haven't felt it, you're just using that energy to put somewhere else. It's fueling those fires, so to speak. It's fueling those things that you don't want. But if you take the time to process it, feel your emotions about it, you will get clarity and those next steps of, oh, where do I want to put my energy? Not over there. That made me really mad. Let me go see if somebody's doing something different. Let me see if there's a light, a light in the darkness in this area that I can follow, or I can lean on, I can donate to, I can share information about, because this is actually what I want.
Yes. In a way I can support. I'm just going to share like a actual example. So like with the Black Lives Matter, I remember reading something and being exposed to some information, and I just had this incredibly emotional response. I probably went through a few things of hate and anger and sadness, but I just stopped. I literally put it down and I sat and I felt and I cried, and I was like, and then I talked to Lisa a little bit, but I really like gave space for that emotion to be there instead of just jumping into. I could feel myself want to get angry about things, but that's the difference, is like that doesn't serve what I actually want. It doesn't support what I actually want. And so giving space to the process and feel that emotions, then later on in the day, I'm presented with the perfect opportunity that resonates with me, that I know, oh, this is it. This is how I can support and give energy to what I want and be a part of the solution. And so just being aware of that in those moments.
And feeling through the emotions so that we're not engaged, because that is an attraction point too. And while it is okay to feel, it's that not feeling that keeps that attracting more of that. Right?
Yes. And that building.
Yeah, I definitely had to do that during Black Lives Matter either. And I remember finding, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the thing I want to support. This is it. Yeah.
Yes. Again, feeling it. We just keep feeling everything, guys.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything you kind of want to wrap up or summarize with our topic today?
No, I think we've covered it all.
Good. Okay, I just want to say, like, if I was to summarize, like, just pay attention. Pay attention and be mindful, be aware, and that is going to be your greatest step forward on giving your attention to what you really want.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye.
Go be awesome. Thank you for joining us on the Manifest It Now show, where you learn how to leverage the law of attraction to manifest your dreams. Now that you're inspired, share the love and review us on iTunes. While you're there, remember to subscribe.